Welcome to the Writer Reads The Strays of Lunar One, Book 1, The Unwilling, Chapter 32, Homecoming. Time to explore, Oliver declared. Let's see what the seedy side of town looks like. Considering it was where the out of work and out of luck headed, the street outside the motel wasn't as seedy as they expected. It was clean. Guess the lupar don't like having poverty on display, Oliver observed. Wonder what they do to anyone they find sleeping rough, Lewis remarked, surveying the dusty buildings. Most were only 3 or 4 stories tall, with the tallest maybe reaching 6. Oliver pivoted slowly, noting the Plascrete construction dominating the area. Frontier world, he decided. I wonder what industry they have. Lewis looked at him wide-eyed. You mean you dragged me out here and you didn't even know what it was? Oliver shrugged. I knew it was established, had breathable air, and was dominated by lupar, which should put us beyond the reach of most of those hunting us. You hope, Lewis gloomily remarked. Oliver cuffed him gently on the shoulder. Besides, I figured I'd be able to do more research once we got here. Have you checked our balance yet? Lewis asked. Last I tried to work it out, we were getting close to not eating. Given the changeling's metabolism would still be adapting to its new status, Oliver could understand the man's concern. I won't let that happen. You weren't supposed to let us get captured either, Lewis reminded him, and Oliver rounded on him with a snarl. Do you think you could have done better? Lewis met his gaze and then looked away. Not saying that, bro. I'm just worried. Oliver sighed. Well, that makes 2 of us. He looked up and down the street, noting a cluster of neon lights further down. Let's go find an internet cafe. I'd rather find an internet steakhouse, Lewis muttered, reminding Oliver of the place they'd visited in Tout Espoir. I'll do my best. More alpha stuff? I am the alpha. It's my responsibility to take care of my pack. Even when you only have a pack of 1? Especially when I only have a pack of 1. A wolf without his pack. Oliver let the words trail off. Lewis's wolf was still turned about. Once it found its feet, the man would know exactly what he meant. And what am I supposed to do? Lewis asked. What's a beta anyway? Oliver glanced at him and started walking. A beta is a wolf not quite powerful enough to be an alpha, but they're key to pack administration and keeping the pack together. They're their alpha's backup, his advisor, and his conscience. What do you mean, conscience? This time Oliver stopped and turned to face him. Alphas tend to be rigid in their rulings. It's not in their nature to be merciful when they're challenged or when the pack is endangered. A good beta balances that. A worried frown crept across Lewis's face, but Oliver turned and kept walking. We need a cafe and a computer. Help me find one. His words came out more order than request, but Lewis didn't protest. They walked in silence, Oliver noting the narrow laneways that opened on either side of the street. Studying them, he realized that the buildings filled their blocks, standing shoulder to shoulder with no space between, that the laneways were part of the design. This was going to be a very difficult area for finding a bolt hole. He wondered what was down the side streets and marked finding out as something they had to do once they found a recruiting officer and checked their accounts, and not in that order. Food was definitely somewhere on that list, too. Lewis's nudge brought him out of his head. That the kind of place you're looking for? Oliver followed the direction of Lewis's finger and nodded. Nice work. Shall we? I'm not sure, bro. My day's pretty busy. Lewis deadpanned, and Oliver stared at him in disbelief. With what? Lewis snickered and headed for the internet cafe. Pulling your chain. Oliver followed, letting his beta take the lead and wondering when the man would realize what he was doing. Betas protected their alpha too, checking new places for danger. He trailed behind, checking their back trail. A beta couldn't be everywhere at once. They moved into the cafe, Oliver noting how few tables stood in the space beyond the serving counter. Cred sticks! The server's sharp voice stopped them before they'd moved more than a few steps past her. Beg your pardon? Oliver asked, glancing at her. Cred sticks, the woman repeated, pointing to a sign. Everyone's got to show their balance before they take a machine. Got to make sure you actually have the cash. Sure thing, Lewis said, stepping up and passing his over. Oliver frowned, glancing round the room and sniffing the air. You're good, the man said, returning Lewis's stick. You got ID? ID? Yeah. The woman jabbed a finger at another sign. Got to register your attendance. Wolf Law. Oliver's ears pricked at that. Wolf Law, eh? He stepped up and laid his cred stick and ID on the table as Lewis handed over his ident card. The girl scanned them efficiently and handed it back, scooping Oliver's card and stick off the countertop in a single fluid move. You're all set, she said, handing them back. You want separate booths or one with 2 terminals? One with 2, Oliver confirmed. Thank you. A quick twist of her lips passed as a smile, and she indicated the far corner of the room. It's a quiet time of day, and we fill from the back first, she explained, pulling out a key from under the counter and passing it over. Yours is down that aisle in the back right corner. Booth 2. You got it? Booth 2. That aisle. Back right corner, Oliver repeated, pointing. Light will flash red when your credit's running low. You want to eat, you'll find a replicator in the corner. Just put your cred stick in the slot. Menus on the top. Drink dispensers over there. She pointed again, and Oliver gave her a smile. Thank you again, he said. Lewis headed for the machine, purchased 2 bottles of water, and followed him down the aisle. Number 2, huh? He quipped, eyeing the booth as Oliver unlocked it. I wonder how secure it is. As secure as we can get until I can replenish what was in the pack I lost to those webs. Lewis shuddered. Don't remind me. You weren't the one that got bit. For which I'll remain forever grateful. Lewis slid into the seat closest to the replicator and booted up the machine. I really miss my hacking kit. Thought you... Hunters took everything we didn't drop, Lewis told him shortly, and we haven't exactly had time to re-equip. There was that touch of insubordination again, and Oliver hid a smile. What he hadn't told Lewis was that beaters were the ones who most often rose to take the Alpha's place at the head of the pack. That was something he'd let the man find out in his own time. There was no point in giving him ideas before he was ready. Lewis's fingers rattled the keys as he muttered the first name on the list, Starstriders. Oliver slid into the seat beside him, reaching round him to snare the menu off the top of the replicator. It had steak, or the equivalent, if the picture beside the Klesbuck was to be believed. Either way, it looked like the best candidate for what they needed. He slid his credit stick into the replicator and punched the necessary combination into the keypad. What you got? He asked, sliding the food in front of Lewis's keyboard. Not a lot, Lewis admitted. I found what looks like a recruiting office, but it's in a different section of town. I'm not sure we can reach it. Looks like lupar access only. Oliver sighed. You jacked in? Lewis shook his head. Nope, Hunters took it, remember? Oliver did. He slid closer, prompting a snarl from his friend as Lewis hunched over his plate. Oh, whoops, sorry, man. Oliver slid back. Forgot you'd still be touchy about your food. The replicator pinged a second time and he pulled his own plate clear. Tell me what you think. Lewis nodded, watching him warily as Oliver slid to the furthest end of the table. You got your own machine. Yeah, but yours has the data we need. Lewis rolled his eyes. Can you wait He stopped mid-word and Oliver frowned. You okay, man? He's just fine. The voice that came through his implant made him start and he almost dropped his fork. Who are you? I'd be hurt, but you're not the one I spoke to. Agarek? Lewis's shocked murmur drew Oliver's attention, but Agarek cut him off before he could ask anything. I told you I would be waiting if you ever made it to Alpha 9. Lewis swallowed, and it had nothing to do with the Klesbuck on his plate. What did you do? Oliver asked, and Agarek answered. He did nothing, but I made a note of 2 potential recruits and gave him a choice. The voice paused, containing a note of puzzlement when it continued. You are looking for sanctuary, are you not? And employment, if I'm not mistaken. The state of your account says you need it. We're still considering our options, Oliver told him shortly. Agarek chuckled. Starstriders accepts your applications, he replied. Please wait where you are. We'll send an escort. Oliver was out of his seat before Agarek had finished speaking, and Lewis was moving with him. Lewis yanked the cred sticks from their respective slots with one hand and lifted the steak from his plate with the other. Oliver followed his example, and they bit into their respective meals at the same time. Do you think they have a Lewis started through a mouthful of meat, only to hastily swallow and end with, oh, fuck. He reversed so fast he rocked the replicator on its stand, leaving Oliver backing away from the twin columns of silver light flaring in front of the booth's only entrance. Take a seat, Mr. Landstrom, Agarek instructed as he materialized. He stepped forward. And finish your steak, pup. Oliver set his steak down on Lewis's plate. Finish mine, too. The simple gesture labelled him as the alpha of the pair, but Oliver had no doubt that Agarek had already worked that out. Oliver backed up another step, keeping himself between the Lupar warrior and his friend. Agarek's ears flattened. I said, sit, he snapped, and Oliver's legs obeyed, turning him as his knees bent so his butt hit the chair. Oliver thought about standing up, but Lewis touched his shoulder. Why don't we see what he has to offer? He suggested, and Oliver shot him a look. Lewis gave him a lopsided smile. Beta, right? Oliver nodded, glancing up at where Agarek lounged against the wall. He found the Lupar studying Lewis with curiosity. He's new, Oliver began to explain, and Agarek snapped him a hard look. We know. Your case is an interesting one, Mr. Landstrom. On the one hand, you've operated with several mercenary forces, including the one that faced us on Mshevra. Oliver paled, and Agarek gave him a look of wolfish satisfaction. You shepherded several wares through the change, even if you did not agree with turning them over to us. Oliver struggled to his feet. They had a right, he began, but was cut off, his tail end hitting the seat even faster than the last time, as the Lupar barked out another command to sit. Your skill in that area is noted, as is your concern. Agarek stepped closer, sniffing along Oliver's neck and jawline. Oliver clenched his jaw but submitted to the familiarity, if only just. You're an alpha among your kind, Agarek observed, and sank his teeth into Oliver's throat and shoulder, gripping tight as Oliver shifted from man to hybrid. From the door came the sound of a blaster powering up and the sharp command of, Stay where you are, as Lewis gave a yelp of surprised protest. For his part, Oliver froze. Agarek had the advantage. All the warrior had to do was tighten his grip a fraction more and shake, and it was all he could do to wrap his hands in the Lupar's shirt and not fight back. He felt the Lupari's jaws work the wound, transferring Lupari mutagen into his system. When Oliver knew he'd taken on more than enough, Agarek let go, pulling a dressing from the pouch at his belt. Pressing it firmly against the wound, he lifted Oliver's hand to keep the pressure on it. Keep that steady, he instructed, moving past to where Lewis was pressed against the wall. Pup. Oliver flinched at his friend's sudden yip, and he started to turn. Don't. The command came from the beater at the door, and the blaster shifted to cover him. Already lightheaded from the bite and feeling heat build in the wound, Oliver stopped. Agarek's clawed grip on his shoulder was just short of painful as it pressed him into his seat, the alpha's growl rumbling through the booth and trembling through his bones. Movement signaled when he'd finished with Lewis, and he stepped back into view, wiping blood from his jaws. We'll not be honouring any bounty on clansmen, he told the pair. Consider the contract signed. But, Oliver began as Lewis came down off the replicator and settled beside him. Why? Agarek asked, and Oliver resisted the urge to nod. Yes. Because I can use people like you in my hunt pack. Agarek jerked his head toward Lewis. And because I made the pup a promise. But, Agarek's face darkened. I have no other motives, Landstrom White Sands of the Dust, but I do have places to fill, and I want to fill them on my own terms. So much for all members of the clan working together for the good of the clan, Oliver thought, his head starting to spin. This change, he began, I did not think it would be part of recruitment. Agarek's jaw dropped in a wolfish grin. It's not part of the usual recruitment package, he agreed. Consider it a favour, me securing your place beyond negotiation. It is my thanks for uncovering the truth of Xanil Blue, which we now know of because Ravelin made certain strategic sections of the data public. But Ravelin, another reason to make you mine, Agarek told him shortly, and Oliver didn't think the Lupar was referring to marriage, recruitment, or just the transformation from Were to Lupar. This bite went deeper. You're our alpha? He asked. and Agarek's jaw slowly closed. I am your Alpha, your sire, and your pack leader, he answered. It is deeper than a Ware's Alpha or pack bond, as you'll come to understand. Oliver nodded, giving him a shadowed gaze. This change, he asked, stopping as a wave of pain rolled through him, muscles cramping in its wake. Yes, Agarek told him. It will be as intense as any you witnessed on Enchevre, save that you'll retain your sanity. Oliver groaned, feeling Lewis shiver beside him. Agarek gave them a satisfied smile. Welcome to my hunt pack. We grant sanctuary. Silver light enveloped them, taking them from the booth. As it cleared, Agarek spoke again. Welcome home, Starstriders. His words were echoed by others, even as Oliver saw two lupari come alongside Lewis and catch him before he could fall. He swayed and felt two more warriors step up and do the same for him. Together they turned, and he saw Agarek sweep a hand toward them. I have brought you two brothers more, the huntmaster announced, and voices raised in wolf song to greet them. Oliver wished he was in better condition to return that greeting, but the Lupari mutagen worked fast, doubling him over as his muscles cramped. His muffled scream was echoed by Lewis as the wolves supporting them took them from the room. As quieter halls enclosed them, Agarek followed, bringing Oliver's escort to a halt and coming around to lay a hand on his chest. Looking into Oliver's eyes, Agarek held his gaze. I am your huntmaster and your alpha, he declared, and you and the pup are my pack and my clan, and mine to protect. Having said his piece, he lifted his hand and stepped out of the way. Medical is standing by, he told the escort. Have them let me know when the change is done. Watching him move away, Oliver felt a knot ease inside his chest. Home, pack, and clan. More than what he'd hoped for when he'd begun their flight. Now all he had to do was live up to it. Fealty was owed.